Hi, AppSec engineers. In this video, I'm going to be talking about some of the unique challenges and opportunities that have been presented with AI taking over our lives. Let's get started, and let's get started now. Now, unless you've been living under a rock, you know that AI has kind of taken over the discussion points all over the internet. If you go on LinkedIn, if you go on Twitter, if you go on Instagram, if you go anywhere, AI is the only thing people are talking about. People are either using it or afraid of it, or using it and still being afraid of it, or using it and seeing it as a massive opportunity for things to expand in the world. AI, don't get me wrong, is a paradigm shifting event, and the kind of AI that we've been given access to is quite amazing in the kind of scope that it has, and the kind of problems that it can solve, and also in the problems that it can create. In this video, I'm going to be looking at some of the challenges that you're going to see, especially as a security professional, because of AI. And some of these challenges are pretty big challenges. They're not trivial challenges. But I also see some opportunity with AI, and I'm going to talk about this opportunity. I've personally been going down the AI rabbit hole for the last couple of months now, and I see certain obvious challenges and I see certain opportunities that may or may not be known to all of you when it comes to AI. So I'm going to get started with this and see how we can approach this and how you can actually be benefited perhaps by AI as you are shaping your application security or any information security career. Now, with AI, one of the things you should keep in mind is that the genie is out of the bottle. Now, every company is investing a ton of effort into AI. Of course, we started off with Microsoft and OpenAI, but today Google has joined the bandwagon. And of course, IBM has joined the bandwagon already. And of course, you have a handful of open source models, large language models. Now, a lot of the AI has been made usable because of the advent of large language models. These are language models that have been trained on billions of data sets. It could be the internet, it could be text on the internet, it could be text based on different types of training parameters, and it creates these probabilistic large language models that allows you to chat with it. So chat GPT is one of those tools that allows you to chat with an AI and basically get answers for whatever you want, right from being able to generate an itinerary to go to Spain, to write Python code to parse a Twitter client or whatever it is. So you really have a lot of different use cases that people are putting onto an AI and testing on an AI and using on an AI. Personally as well, I have been using AI extensively. I've used AI to write call for papers into conferences. I've used AI to generate code for my applications that I built. I've used AI for things like generating an itinerary for a family trip. I've used AI for a lot of these things, and I continue to do so. It has made me personally extremely productive. So this is something that has already left the train. So I don't think we are going to see this being curtailed in any way. I know that governments are trying to stop this, and I see that governments want some kind of responsibility around this, but I really don't see how this can be done without governments understanding this, and governments have generally not been good at understanding anything around technology. Now, on the first glance, the question that I get asked the most, especially by either security folks in their workplace or people who are trying to get into a career in security, is that, hey, is AI going to create losses or job losses? Am I going to lose my job because of AI? And the short answer to that is yes. You will. There is a good chance that a lot of jobs, including jobs in the security industry, will be lost to AI. And that is going to happen probably. But I'm sure there are some other opportunities that are very interesting that might come up because of AI in the security space. Now, let's talk a little bit about job losses to begin with. Now, there are estimates all over the place. If you go online and say AI job losses on Google, you would probably see a bunch of articles from the Goldman Sachs article saying that they are expecting 300 million jobs to be lost to AI. To other places, the World Foundation essentially said 82 million jobs will be lost over the next 5 years. And aside from that, you see everywhere there are a lot of news, or there's a lot of speculation about AI job losses being pretty heavy. In fact, Italy apparently has even created a fund for people who lose their jobs because of AI. So it seems that people are predicting doom and doom when it comes to the job losses with AI. And I kind of have to agree with that to a certain extent. I obviously don't know the numbers. I'm not an economist. I don't have the kind of data to deal with. But I do have to agree with some of it. Because in terms of AI, the ability to do things in a way that is much faster and the way that you don't need humans is something that is quite staggering and quite powerful. So just to give you an idea, a lot of entry level positions, in my opinion, are probably going to go away. When I say entry level positions, there used to be a lot of people who used to sit and do work that was generative, right? Write code to do this, or write up reports, or create documentation, create presentations. In the security space itself, sit and configure, let's say, firewall rules, or write AWS IAM rules or IAM policies, or configure a particular system with a certain kind of rule or a certain policy. There would be several jobs, right? It could be in the GRC space, it could be in the network security space, it could be in cloud security. A lot of generative work, at least at the mid to lower level, used to be there, right? Especially people who are in the mid to lower level in these spaces would do a lot of work that involves generation of things. So they would probably do a little bit of research, generate a policy, or generate some kind of a document, or generate some kind of a report, and that report would be something that was a value add, right? People would use that report either to give it to clients or internally or so on. And a lot of that generative work, I think, is going to go away. So which means that where companies would hire 5 people to do a job, they would probably hire 1 or 2 people to do it, simply because a lot of that generative work, I think, can be taken over by AI. Just to give you a personal experience on this, a lot of challenges that we write for AppSecEngineer, to a certain extent, I generate on AI. So previously it used to be entirely a manual process, but today you see a lot of generative work is happening without any manual intervention whatsoever. If you are able to engineer prompts in a way that is specific and gives you the ability to hone in on what you want, you are able to generate some very, very specific use cases, very specific kind of generative work on AI. So I think a lot of job losses will be lost in that generative space where there's a lot of generative work that's happening. And as AI is rolled into existing tools, so let's say AI is rolled into your SAS tool or your DAS tool or your IaaS tool or any other tools where a lot of previous validation and things like that used to happen, a lot of jobs might get curtailed in that space as well, because I think people will lose jobs in the generative space. However, I'm saying this in a very serious way, however, I think there is still a lot of room for people to verify and, of course, integrate the work of AI into their work product. So let me tell you what I mean by that. Now, AI might be able to generate an AWS IAM policy, but it may not be able to integrate that into your AWS account, at least not yet with a great deal of accuracy. May not be able to entirely integrate that into your AWS environment without a human being involved, either in verification or making sure that it's actually working correctly, or making sure that there is nothing wrong, it's not going to crash things. Or in terms of writing code, AI may be able to write code for you, but it may not be able to integrate that code into your code base without causing a lot of disruption. So I think there is going to be a lot of work related to integration, and there is also going to be a lot of work related to validation and verification. Remember, AI is probability, and sometimes AI throws out a bunch of bullshit as well. So when there is probability, there is some amount of possibility where it throws out some inaccurate or some not necessarily very accurate data. So verification will still be something that people might be required to do. At least I see that happening in the near future, until AIs are able to verify things themselves, or various types of AIs, one AI for generation, another AI for verification. That is still possible. At least I've not seen that happening now. So I feel that there is a lot of work that is going to be there in the verification and integration space with AI. But I feel the generative jobs that we used to have, a lot of the lower to mid-range jobs that we used to have that involved a lot of generative work, I think is going to go away with AI coming into the picture. The other thing that a lot of people have previously speculated, hey, AI may be able to generate things, but it's not able to do things. right? That was another refuge that a lot of people sought with AI coming into the picture. Yes, it may be able to generate things, but it may not be able to do things. AI cannot do an Nmap scan, or AI may not be able to perform a burp suite, an assessment with burp suite or OWASP ZAP or something like that. Today, with agents and chaining and things like that, it is possible to do this. So a lot of you will see that this argument that AI is not able to do things has pretty much gone out the window, because the AI is able to do things. It is able to run tools. It is able to be chained with different processes, and you can actually have a whole set of tasks. So I can pretty much set up an AI that can run a whole bunch of pen testing tasks, and I can chain them together, and that would pretty much do a pen test for me and figure out what are the results, and use that to figure out additional steps to be able to take to do that. So that is also a place where I think job losses will be there. So previously what used to happen was, yes, let us say there's generative work or purely generative work, yes, AI might take over those jobs. But I also feel a lot of executive, lower level executable job, any jobs that require some kind of execution of tasks, that also I think is going to be affected by better and better AI tools coming into the picture. So these two are areas that I feel will cause the most amount of disruption to you as a security professional. Because a lot of security jobs are about generation and doing things, at least at the lower end. Now, let's talk about how you can overcome at least this challenge. Now, the thing again, and I always stress this and I can't stress this more, is skills will see you through. A lot of times, I used to see people who used to say, okay, they're DevSecOps expert or they're cloud security expert, but they would not have the necessary expertise that they would claim on their resume or otherwise. So I think a lot of those people are going to be getting the short end of the stick. Whereas people who actually have knowledge, especially knowledge enough to verify and integrate, they, I think, will still be in a good amount of demand, simply because their knowledge is able to get them through this initial generative hump of the whole thing. They are able to figure out how to verify and integrate because they have knowledge. So again, the quality of knowledge makes a big difference when it comes to surviving in the age of AI. If you don't have the quality of knowledge, I think you will be in trouble in days to come. And I think everybody should focus on the quality of knowledge. And when I say quality of knowledge, I mean not just passing some certification, but actually having hands-on skills, having the ability to learn these things and be able to think deeper and think in systems and go deeper into these systems will make a big difference as the AI juggernaut starts to roll and companies start to realize that its potential is massive for their business operation. So now I'm done with the gloom and doom. So I spoke about the job losses, the issues that you would see with AI coming into the picture, but I think it's time to create some opportunities. And believe me, there are opportunities that I see with AI coming into the picture. There's always opportunities in security, and AI brings with it unique challenges, which I already spoke of, but it also brings some very interesting opportunities. Now let's talk about the potential upsides of AI coming into the picture. Now, AI coming in will need its own area of security research, and this is already a very, very nascent area that has kind of started to take hold all over the world. But I think more and more people will need to be engaged in research around security for AI itself. Now, this research could be around AI exploitation techniques. So, for instance, let's say you're building an AI application like a chat assistant or an AI personal assistant, and you need to secure that. There may be several possibilities of offensive approaches that people can use, from prompt injection to being able to compromise the application in other ways that leads to the compromise of the app and potentially compromise of the user sensitive data as well. In fact, Daniel Miessler, just earlier today I was seeing, put out a pretty amazing AI attack surface map that kind of explains all the different risks, kind of like a threat model to AI to a certain extent, that comes up with a lot of these solutions, and they're really nice. I highly encourage you to take a look at it. I'll share the link in the YouTube show notes. So there will be, I think, an area of security research on AI that will focus on the applications itself, on the kind of data sets that you're training. So that will have its own set of security possibilities. What if somebody trains your data sets against a tainted source data set based on a tainted source data set? What happens then? Or what happens if somebody can introduce a lot of biases and hate speech and things like that into your AI data set? So this is something that will also need its own level of security research. So you have the applications, you have the data sets, and of course you have the entire stack that will need security research. And this is an area that throwing more AI at this problem, I don't think is necessarily going to solve the problem. So I still think humans will have a pretty important role to play here. So I think one of the things that we are doing at AppSecEngineer is building out some very interesting courses around AI and the intersection of AI and security. So you will see some very interesting content coming up pretty soon. Now, outside of that, there is a lot of engineering effort that I think will be needed for security and AI. So, for instance, if you want to train your AI on security related data sets, I think that engineering service is going to be something that a lot of people and a lot of companies will need. So, let's say you have logs and you want to train an AI on your logs. How do you do that? And how do you manage to actually get valuable information from that, or use that to detect anomalies in your environment? That could be a type of AI based security engineering that happens. So this is something that my company V45, we're doing a lot of initial work at, and we see that this is a very important area of focus that will likely happen in days to come. So AI based security engineering, especially working around building custom trained models and custom data sets, or being able to leverage existing data sets to build out newer trained AI models, will be, I think, a very important area of focus in days to come. And of course, AI based application security, right? All of these will be integrated into applications, and you need to have the ability to attack and defend those applications. So I think that is another area of focus that will open up as far as security is concerned, or additional opportunities will start to get created as these things get more and more adopted in the mainstream space. So these are, I think, at least some of the initial upsides. While I said a lot of people predicted that AI would take away physical jobs, but suddenly we see that AI has gone for a completely opposite. It's starting to take away white collar, or what you would call largely intellectual jobs, by completely providing another automated brain. So all predictions around AI are changing. The ground is shifting right beneath our feet as we stand on it. So all of these things change quite a lot. But this is what I think will be the challenges and the opportunities when it comes to AI in the near future. I can't obviously make any long-term predictions, simply because, like I said, the ground is shifting beneath our feet. But what I do think is a lasting tenet as far as AI or anything else is concerned, and this is a tenet that I have followed personally in my own career as well, which is constantly learn to reinvent yourself. And reinvention is only possible when you take time to build skill. And when you are able to build skill, you can reinvent. So, and when you reinvent, you are able to adapt, and you are able to adapt to any changing situation that you have. So I always believe, and you should probably be aware of that, that I believe in reinvention. I believe in skill building. I've in fact built a company based on skill building. So you can imagine how much I'm engaged in that process. But I truly believe that this is a very important juncture for us. You can either sink or swim, and the swimming part could happen only because you're able to reinvent yourself, acquire useful skills, and constantly adapt to the changing environment and the changing conditions around you. So you always have to stay curious, always have to keep your eyes and ears open, and make sure that these things are not affecting you adversely, and you take steps well before they happen in order to ensure that you have a very bright and very hopeful future. So thank you so much for watching this video, and thank you so much for watching it till the end. I hope this has been an interesting video for you to understand some of the unique challenges and some of the opportunities that AI presents to us. I, of course, will constantly look to keep all of you engaged and, of course, updated as part of our channel, either on YouTube or as part of our content on AppSecEngineer. So thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day.